Oh, the burning questions we want to know, some of us at least. Hillary Clinton said she hasn't driven in nearly 2 decades.
Last time I actually drove a car myself was 1996, and I remember it very well. And unfortunately, so does the Secret Service, which is why I haven't driven since then.
So, those comments prompted the people at BuzzFeed to ask one of Clinton's longtime aides, Philippe Reines, about some other everyday things Hillary has or has not done, like buy stuff online or eat at Chipotle. And Reines' response was colorful. In an email, BuzzFeed says Reines slammed the website, renaming it Bullfeed, calling the questions, quote, inane, and even providing links to photos of Hillary, you guessed it, eating at Chipotle. CNN senior media correspondent Brian Stelter joined me now to talk about this. And, you know, my first thought is, BuzzFeed's fun. Like, where's his sense of humor?
I thought it was very smart of BuzzFeed to ask these questions. And I was surprised, you know, I wasn't totally surprised by the response, because this spokesman has a reputation for being combative, for being funny like this, for being provocative like this. But I think these are actually questions that Hillary Clinton will someday have to answer if she runs for president. So I was a little surprised by the tone of his reply.
She's going to have to answer that question, Brian?
I think we've seen over the years presidential candidates get into trouble when they don't seem to connect to ordinary Americans. You know, the American people, we're a contradictory bunch. We want our presidents to be both just like us, but also better than us, smarter than us, wiser than us. I think questions like whether they've eaten at Chipotle, what the price of a gallon of milk is, are legitimate questions if you're running for president. Of course, right now, Hillary Clinton's not running for anything, so maybe it's fair to swap those questions away. But people are going to want to know that she's relatable if and when she runs.
So why did those questions, I mean, Philippe Reines has been in the political biz for a very long time. Why did those questions bother him so much? I'm asking you to speculate now.
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, the answer that she gave about driving a car is getting some negative attention, is getting some scrutiny. And maybe he was trying to disarm further questions about how in touch she is with ordinary Americans by swatting it away in a humorous way. I thought it was a very funny email to call BuzzFeed Bullfeed. It was very clever. But the reality is there's going to be lots of other reporters, not just ones from BuzzFeed, asking questions like these in the future. And maybe Hillary Clinton will be able to poke fun of herself the way she did about the car by saying that she hasn't been allowed to drive a car because the Secret Service won't let her. Maybe that'll work. Maybe she'll be able to step aside from those questions that way. But I think there's going to be a lot more of those in the years to come.
Well, it is interesting because when candidates run for president, I mean, you saw President Obama trying to bull and not very well, right? So he could look like a common guy. Ronald Reagan rode a horse, which he did well. Jimmy Carter, made much of the fact he was a simple peanut farmer, even though he's pretty wealthy peanut farmer. So I guess you may be right. Maybe those questions are important.
And George W. Bush, to add to that list, had his famous ranch, even though he was also very wealthy. You know, by going to the ranch in Crawford, it presented him as an ordinary American. We've seen every president for decades now try to position themselves in a certain way, and that's partly because of television, because of the medium of television, which conveys certain things to the American people. You know, I think what we're seeing is a potential candidate in waiting bringing up questions like that, and I think when we see the spokesman try to swat those questions away, it exposes a challenge that candidate would face if and when she runs.
Brian Stelter, thanks so much for stopping in this morning. Still to cover the newsroom, President Obama's